From the WKYT studios in Lexington, this is Kentucky Newsmakers with Bill Bryant.
Good morning from WKYT News. Hope you're having a nice weekend. A guide to Kentucky and your money in the good old summertime. That's what we'll be talking about today. Later, UK Extension economist Jennifer Hunter talks about managing all the extra expenses that come along in summer when the kids are out of school and looking for things to do. Some good advice that will save you some money and still let the good times roll. That's coming up a little later. But first, how about seeing Kentucky this summer? The Commonwealth is a growing destination for others who are lured in by our natural beauty, our lakes and rivers, historic sites, and increasingly the bourbon industry. Now, state tourism leaders remind folks that seeing our own state is an incredible educational opportunity for young and old alike. The current slogan for the state's marketing effort is by air, by land, or water, the best adventures are in Kentucky. And Bob Stewart is the Secretary of the Kentucky Tourism and Humanities Cabinet. He has spent a long career in state government and now helms the cabinet that he's been a part of for a long time. It's good to see you. Thanks
good to see you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Secretary, how are we doing in terms of visitors and the money being spent here? You have some fresh economic numbers.
Well, we do. We do. The first week of May every year is National Tourism Week, and we celebrate it in Kentucky by releasing an economic impact study that basically measures what did visitors do and spend, what did they spend primarily in the calendar year 2014. So this latest report for 2014 shows that for the first time in the state's history, visitor spending, the economic impact of that visitor spending topped $13 billion. It was right at $13.1 billion. And what that also translates into is that spending supports about 179,000 jobs through several sectors throughout Kentucky's economy. These are not all frontline jobs, I like to remind people, although there is nothing wrong with frontline jobs, but this also supports sales and marketing managers, chefs, general managers at hotels, people who work in the airline industry and the hotel industry, so lots of different jobs throughout the tourism sector. But that visitor spending, the $13.1 billion, also generated about $1.37 billion in state and local taxes. That's up about $500 million over the year before. And the wages paid to the people who work in the industry is right at $3 billion. So tourism is big business, it's important business, and we're happy to see it prosper and continue to grow.
I mean, it's a major part of the state's overall economy.
It is a major part of the state's overall economy, and tourism doesn't just happen. You know, it's a very competitive job sector or industrial sector out there, and all the other states around us and throughout the country are certainly working just as hard as we are to try to lure those visitors into their borders.
Well, what are the most visited sites in the Commonwealth?
Well, our national parks are certainly important. Mammoth Cave is right up there at the top and has been for years and years. And I should mention, next year, 2016, the National Park Service will be celebrating its centennial. So you're going to be hearing a lot about national parks throughout the country. We have 4 of those national park properties throughout Kentucky. And so we're working closely with our park superintendents at our national park properties to try to do a little promotion with them, and also we think that will benefit our state parks as well, because people will want to go and participate in some of the state park activities.
Now let's talk a little bit about our state parks. Really, our state park system was the envy of the nation in the 60s and 70s, no doubt about that. Are we able to maintain those and to keep them viable these days?
Well, it's a challenge, I'll be honest with you. And we have a vast state park system for a state the size of Kentucky. We have 49 properties throughout the state park system. Now, that includes recreation parks, that includes 17 resort parks. 17 resort parks is a high number of state-maintained resorts. A lot of other bigger states don't have that many resort parks. 16 golf courses. Golf courses are pretty expensive to maintain, but they're wonderful jewels in our state park system. We have historic sites as well. So 49 properties, and you know, we are struggling working to keep them maintained to the level that we would like to keep them maintained. Now, having said that, our state parks are still a wonderful recreational opportunity for families. They are a great value, particularly since we're talking about stretching your dollar when you travel. You cannot beat a state park visit. Are they all in tip-top shape as much as we would like for them to be? The answer to that is no. Are we working hard to keep them there? Absolutely. But the hospitality and the visitor experience that you get at a state park has not diminished at all. So you're still going to be warmly welcome.
Now, you are experimenting with some privatization.
We are trying to.
Yeah.
We are trying to. And we would very much like to see a lodge developed, for example, down at Burnside State Park down on Lake Cumberland. We did do an RFP on that earlier this year. It did not yield a successful bidder, but we're looking at that again, and we're going to make another run at that and try to get that. A lot of people will talk glibly, to be frank, about, well, let's just privatize the state parks. Well, that's not as easy as it sounds, because the state park system, it's not just the lodge operation that you're looking at. We have hundreds of thousands of acres of public land that have to be in some fashion maintained, mowed. We have trails, hundreds and thousands of miles of trails that you have to keep clear. That costs a lot of money. Chances are a private management company, a hotel management company, they may come in and manage the hotel or the lodge, but they're not going to much care or spend money on what's beyond the parking lot there. So, you have to keep the full picture of what the park system is all about.
So is there talk, therefore, of doing partial deals?
There could be. We're going to look at that as well, and I think moving forward, in many cases, and this is a big issue, particularly when you talk about privatization, our state parks are located in dry counties. Well, a private hotel management company, if they are unable to sell alcohol, and you have a 30-room lodge, for example, as we do at Natural Bridge, which is a very successful lodge, but it's dry, they can't sell alcohol, the private sector's out at that point. And so we now do sell alcohol in several of our resorts. I think there's 5 that we're now selling alcohol in that have come in, and that's going very well, but we need to continue working on that. And there are now avenues through local option precinct votes where other state parks in dry counties can have a precinct vote that would allow that park to go wet. So that's a new development. Yep. So but alcohol sales is an important key to privatization.
Well, Mr. Secretary, to what extent do special events drive Kentucky's tourism economy, such as obviously the Derby, the Keeneland spring and fall meets, some of the Kentucky State Fair, some of the big events that bring people in?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. And it's not just those big events, although those signature events are wonderful, but even the most rural communities out in Kentucky have wonderful festivals that may focus on music. Music, and particularly bluegrass music, is red hot, and it's popular worldwide. So, you go to Ohio County and visit the Bill Monroe area there, and some of the music festivals they have there are important. Food is a real important growing trend, hot trend in tourism and travel, and we have some great food options throughout Kentucky in both the urban and rural parts of Kentucky, which is great. Crafts, the art and craft, and we really are trying to do a better job at the cabinet at incorporating Kentucky's arts and cultural traditions into our overall tourism product, because people really crave the authentic, what is the local culture, the local art, and in those categories, Kentucky takes a backseat to no other state.
And those festivals, as you say, just have such a local feel.
Well, they do, and they also really showcase what's special about a place in Kentucky, and that's why a festival is particularly important. And study after study shows that special events and festivals do absolutely attract visitors.
Well, people find Kentucky's history fascinating, from the Civil War battle sites to other places that are rich with heritage and the struggles and accomplishments of our people. Bluegrass music you mentioned. What is it about Kentuckians that are so fascinating to others?
Well, we're different. We're a little different. When you look at, for example, our role in the Civil War, you know, we were both, you know, Union and Confederate, and we have rich history there, birthplace of both Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis. Lexington has more of a Confederate feel. Louisville had more of a Union leaning. So that distinguishes us. We, you know, some say we are not truly Southern. We are not truly Midwestern. We're a little bit of the best of both. I think we certainly have strong Southern feel about Kentucky. I think we feel Southern, but we're still a little bit different and unique from a lot of the other Southern states in many respects. And I think that's what people find intriguing about Kentucky.
We can make a tourist attraction out of anything. A sinkhole of all things at the Corvette Museum is an example. What about that? I mean, are there times to just take advantage of something that happens, or that you know, is something that maybe a locality had not thought about might be an asset?
Well, that's clearly a textbook case of turning lemons into lemonade from a public relations and marketing standpoint, and the staff down at the Corvette Museum are brilliant. They have done a brilliant job of that. But I think it was the fact that the sinkhole opened up and swallowed up some of the most valuable Corvettes known to mankind, and people wanted to come and see that, and very wisely they were able to safely incorporate the viewing of that whole operation and the rescue and recovery and now the repair, so the visitors could kind of see that. And it was just, and it, you know, their visitation went through the roof, and they had press calling from all over the world about that.
There are private companies that develop some tourist attractions. One, of course, obviously what was formerly the Six Flags Park over in Louisville. That is off now in a new incarnation, right?
It is. It's doing great, and they have several new features that are premiering this summer. I mean, they're open now for the summer, and in fact, you can get a deal on a season pass that this year will include the parking, so you don't have to pay a separate parking fee when you go into the fairgrounds, which is where Kentucky Kingdom is located. So if you haven't been to Kentucky Kingdom lately, you need to check it out, because they've got a lot of new exciting things going on, and they were a beneficiary of the Tourism Development Act. That's exactly the type of investment that we encourage through that act, and why that act was written and passed to begin with in 1996.
Now, there's one that was controversial in that regard. The ARC parking counter is in litigation, and they were seeking state tax incentives. At first, the state was going there, and then the state backed away.
That's correct. And you know, obviously we're in litigation right now, so there's not a whole lot that I can say about that. I will say we felt that from the first go around to this go around, their focus shifted in that it really changed from a tourism attraction, purely a tourism attraction, into more of an attraction that had a religious mission, and they were very clear about that, and they were clear that in their intentions in some of their hiring practices, and we found that was a shift that was problematic. So we'll see. We're in court, and we'll see where that goes.
What are the kinds of places this summer that you would urge Kentuckians themselves to get out and discover or rediscover?
Well, I've got a plea and a challenge I'm making to Kentuckians to pick a place in Kentucky that you haven't been before and make it a point to go visit this summer. There is so much in this state out there to see. Now, some of the new things that people are finding really intriguing, obviously bourbon. You know, the bourbon distilleries, the Kentucky Bourbon Trail is drawing lots and lots of interest. And the nice thing, in addition to the visitors, the hundreds of thousands of visitors that are finding their way into these bourbon distilleries, the whole interest in bourbon and thirst for bourbon really is an image polisher for the state as well. Bourbon is a very handcrafted, traditional American spirit. It's made well. It's made with lots of care. There's a real science to it, and when you go to a distillery and have that experience, you know, you're really getting an idea that, you know, Kentucky's a place where they take care when they make things, and you know, the thoroughbred industry is another one. You know, our horses and our beautiful horse farms are very carefully, you know, maintained, and there's a science to that. And the more people learn about that, the more intrigued they are. So that kind of helps bolster the state's image that we are a place that knows how to make things well. We care about tradition, and we care about the care of the products that we produce. So, but trails, adventure tourism is the other very hot ticket. We have communities all over the state that are developing new trails that lead into the communities so that you can be out on the trail in the day on horseback or on bike or hiking, and those trails are now going to lead you back into the communities, sometimes very small communities, where you can then enjoy food, enjoy a meal, craft beer.
There you go. Bob Stewart, who's Secretary of Kentucky's Tourism and Humanities Cabinet. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Bill.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in just a moment with some ways to stretch your dollars this summer with an expert from the University of Kentucky. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers on WKYT. We're glad you're with us. We've learned some things about some things to see and do close to home over summer from the Tourism Secretary. Parents are often looking for ways to stretch dollars during summer months when child care, even food costs go up. The kids are around more. There's also social pressure to load up the family and board the cats and dogs and head out on that expensive trip. Dr. Jennifer Hunter is a personal finance expert and economist with the UK Extension Service. She's joining us to talk about those financial pressures of summer, and they are real. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me.
So, yeah, all the kids are in school throughout the year. That was child care most of the day, right? And so the costs really do go up in summer in more ways than one.
They do, and there is no doubt that families need to think about renegotiating their budget as they move into the summer months, that there are several expenses that increase, many of them that you just cited, and so to avoid ending up in extra credit card debt at the end of the summer or not having enough money to stretch throughout the summer months, you really do need to put a plan in place at the beginning of the summer to stretch your dollars through the summer months until the kids make it back to school in the fall.
What are some alternatives? I mean, aren't the child care costs kind of what they are?
So child care costs is one thing that we're going to see increase during the summer months because those kids, like you said, that were in school, you may have been paying after school expenses, but now you're going to be paying for that full day of expense. So if that's full day daycare or if it's different types of day camps or long-term summer camps. So you really want to look at what those costs are and how it fits into your overall monthly spending plan. And there's going to be places that you'll probably need to cut back in other areas to have the extra dollars to go towards the summer camps and the daycare type activities for the children. Other costs that we see increase, as you mentioned, was food costs. So even if the kids are staying at home, or maybe if they stay with a friend or grandma and grandpa, and you might not have those daycare expenses, one trap that you can easily fall into is being out and about town or heading out to do something and just stopping and grabbing lunch someplace as opposed to preparing lunch at home. And we all know how expensive it is to eat out, but if you do that 2 to 3 times a week, you may be adding $20, $40, $60 to your weekly budget that you had not had before.
So the best way to plan for that
is to really think ahead. And anytime we talk about food budgets and meal planning, that it really involves making a list and putting a plan down on paper. And so if you do that over the weekend, you do your grocery shopping, and you really think about where you're going to be day to day. So there might be a day that you need to eat out, and maybe you can put all of your errands in that day so that you just don't happen to get caught out at lunchtime. It's really and truly, it all comes back to planning. And
so really, as you said, when you get in that happenstance situation, that's what costs you money, isn't
exactly.
it? Those impulsive decisions that you have to make.
It is the impulsive decisions that you make. There is no doubt about that. And that can also be as you have the kids out more. If they're going to Walmart with you or they're going to the grocery store, that I know when my family's with me at those type stores that we tend to spend more just because they see things that they need or want, or just going through the cash register, all those impulsive type items are there, that we just tend to spend more when the family and the kids are around more. And so you have to be very cognizant of those impulsive type decisions.
Is that a wonderful teaching opportunity between needs and wants?
It's a great teaching opportunity. And you know, there's so much when we talk about budgeting for the summer that we can really involve some of our older kids with. So maybe for the little ones that this doesn't exactly fit, but I still think it's important to be communicating with our children regardless of the the age, about our finances. But with some of our older kids, probably 8, 9, and on up, you can talk to them about the budget during the summer. So you can explain that as a family, we have X amount of dollars to do certain events over the summer, and let that child be involved in the decision-making process. So they get to choose maybe what camps they go to. Some camps are a lot more expensive than other camps. So give them the power to decide that if they want to go to a really expensive summer camp one week, then they also need to look at some of those less expensive alternatives for other weeks. So really and truly empowering the child to help make some decisions can also help you stay within budget.
What about that social pressure that is out there? You know, little Johnny gets to go to the water park every day. What about me? You know, kind of thing.
True, true. And we hear this a lot at home too. Or can I go with my friends to one of the trampoline parks or the water park or the pool or whatever it may be? And again, that's when we go back to thinking about empowering the child, involving them in the financial decisions, and just being very honest with them. We don't need to tell them dollar figures that mommy and daddy make or anything like that, but just being honest with them about how much we have available for entertainment during this week or this month or whatever it may be, and then helping them make the decisions. And often you can look for great deals out there. There's all kinds of summer deals that go on in Lexington that are free or very low cost that you can suggest as alternatives. So having a good list of alternatives prepared is always a good tool to have in your box. If that's one of the free summer movies or if it's an event at the library, there's all kinds of low cost options, and maybe you can invite that other child to go with you there.
Another hidden cost, summer clothing, and that could be both just seasonal clothing, you know, the shorts, the different things that you might not wear or be allowed to wear to school, as well as sports equipment and clothing. Those can add up too.
True. As we enter into the summer months, we're seeing a big wardrobe transition going on in our houses as we move from maybe, like you mentioned, the uniform type clothes that we might have had to wear at school, or just moving from spring to summer clothes, and all of that has an expense with it, especially when we're focused on children because they grow so quickly. And great tips for that is that to shop some of our local consignment shops, do some yard sale type shopping, especially with sporting equipment. Children go through sporting equipment very, very quickly. Things like cleats are very expensive, or ballet or tap shoes. Those are very expensive to go out and buy new, but generally you can find them at a consignment shop for a fairly reasonable price. Normally they've been worn for one baseball season or one football season, and they're not harmed at all. So if you, again, put a plan in place, it's when we wait till the last minute and realize ballet starts tomorrow or realize baseball starts tomorrow and we've got to have that pair of cleats, then we're just kind of forced to go out and make a more expensive decision.
Jennifer, it sounds like, you know, almost every season has its own set of expenses, doesn't it? I mean, in the summer there's that, before you know it, it's back to school. Obviously, then the holidays are upon you. I mean, there's always that. So really that planning is what's so important.
It's true, and we often talk to people that for those fixed expenses that we have every month, people do a pretty good job planning for those, and that would be things like our rent payment or our house payment, our car payment, but it's these occasional expenses that come up, and those are exactly what you just mentioned, if that's the holidays or if it's back to school supplies or if it's the summer camp. And so we really encourage people to sit down and make a list of every month on paper and then go through and identify those anticipated expenses that you might have that month. So if it's the additional costs on summer camps, if it's the holiday gift giving, whatever it may be, get a total for the year, divide it by 12, and then add that much to your monthly budget every month that goes into a savings account, so that when these expenses do occur, that it's not coming out of just your normal monthly budget, it's coming out of that extra savings account that you have.
All right, Dr. Jennifer Hunter is with us from UK Extension. She's an economist and an expert on personal finance. We're coming back in just a moment. We'll talk about some of those ways to beat the high cost of vacations. Coming up on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back in, Kentucky Newsmakers here on WKYT. We're visiting with Dr. Jennifer Hunter, a personal finance expert and economist with the UK Extension Service. And we were talking a little bit earlier about that really social pressure to take the vacation, you know, in the summer. I mean, there are songs about it, right? Vacation, all I ever wanted. And so here we go with people taking those trips and feeling the pressure to go spend the money for the travel, for the hotels, board the animals or what have you. It really adds up.
It really does add up, and with gas prices lower this summer than they have been previous summers, I do anticipate that we'll see more people taking those family vacations, because when gas prices were so high, people kind of cut back a little bit on that travel, but with prices a little bit lower, they're going to hit the roads more, and the costs do add up. And so again, as we've talked about, it's putting that plan in place before you leave. So thinking about what are some of those strategies to save money on that family vacation, and it can come from things about thinking about reducing the number of days that you're going to be gone. So if you're looking at a 7-day trip, potentially think about doing a 5-day trip. Often hotel rooms are going to be less expensive during the week than they are on the weekends. So if you can cut out that weekend travel, you could save several $100s just on lodging itself.
And if you're going to take a particular type of activity that's going on, plan for that ahead of time, right? If
True.
You're out there.
And one great way to look for travel tips or travel deals is to think about going to an off-peak location. That during the summer months, things like beaches might be more expensive, but if we look maybe at a ski resort that typically does not have a lot of summertime travelers, it's going to be a beautiful location, lots of outdoor activities to do, probably some great hiking, great scenery that you're going to get at a much reduced cost. So really pick your destination well too.
As Secretary Stewart was talking about the things that can be done right here in the Commonwealth, and there's so much to learn and find out about our own state.
True, and you know, we were talking earlier about empowering our children, and this is another thing that we can do with vacations, is empower them to learn what is in our state, what is close to home, and what are things that we can go and do. So again, give them a budget to work within and let them do some internet searching and find those things that are close to home that would be fun for the family. And again, it lets them choose if they want to spend a lot of money maybe on visiting one of the amusement parks that's close to Lexington, then what are they going to do the rest of the time? What are some of those low-cost and no-cost travel things that they could do close to home too?
And I know some just make a list. You know, they're going to take that vacation, but it's going to be 5 days, and it'll be, like you say, a quick trip to northern Kentucky, maybe a couple of days visiting sites right around town, maybe a Louisville trip, that sort of thing.
True, true. And those type things you can spread out over multiple weeks or multiple days, so you're not taking off work an entire week at a time. So that might help also. And it also breaks it up for the kids some, so they get something to look forward to throughout the summer as opposed to just 1 week.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Jennifer. We really do appreciate it. And again, the bottom line of the whole thing is, as you said, try to plan, anticipate as best you can, and don't make those impulsive decisions during the summer months.
True, true.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Kentucky Newsmakers on WKYT. We'll have the latest for you bright and early on WKYT this morning, starting at 4:30 a.m. You make it a good week ahead.